الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمد ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. This might be part 2, so I'm just saying that just in case. Go on, you had some questions.
Okay, welcome back after the break, and if it's not after the break, it's part 2, then welcome back for part 2. Right, I'm gonna move on swiftly after the break. My next question is, or the first question is, you're the youngest in your household, and usually the youngest is always treated...
Who told you that, bro?
I know that, innit, bro?
Oh.
You're the youngest in your household. Actually, in fact, before I even ask this question, I should say, if you've watched the last bit, just to make it clear, Maulana Inam knew nothing about my questions. So this not been scripted at all. I've got questions down, and I'm saying it, and he's hearing it for the first time. So yeah, just making that clear. So yeah, so you're the youngest in your household, and usually the youngest is treated as a baby, and usually has the least responsibility for that reason. How do you feel you've learnt to take responsibility in your life, given that context?
I don't think I have. Like, not fully. Nothing that is major. I don't. What would you mean? What do you mean? Like,
Well, fair enough. No, you don't have to say full responsibility, but surely you've gained responsibility in some ways.
I don't know. I guess being a supervisor at boarding school to elder students, that kind of gives you a bit of sense of responsibility. And, with great responsibility comes no power.
I was going to say, why are you being so cliche for? Okay, so being a supervisor has helped you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's
it.
That's about it. I guess that would be it, really.
Nothing else, nothing about having kids, marriage.
Like, but you're saying being the youngest in the family, like that's being a father.
Yeah. So what? Sorry, what I meant to say was, given that context, it's harder because responsibility isn't normally given to yourself.
Yeah.
So I was saying, what in your life has given that responsibility? What has given you?
Oh, well then you would say being an imam, being an alim, being a father, being a husband, all of that stuff gives you responsibility. But then I thought your question was more about how did you learn how to deal with it, or how to take it, how to hold responsibility.
Yeah, how you've learnt it basically. How do you feel you've learnt it?
Diving in the deep end, just learn as you go, kind of thing. But also know that your actions have consequences, and obviously think things through. Although we didn't do that much.
And would you say you're the type to learn from mistakes, from making your mistakes, or learning from other people's mistakes?
I guess I look at the person and look at the mistake, because if somebody stepped in a puddle, maybe because they got they're small, that's why they stepped in a puddle, innit? I could jump over the puddle, I got long legs. So like using that as an analogy, like somebody made a mistake doesn't mean I'll make the same mistake. There's a chance that I could do the exact same thing that person did, but do better.
Okay, so you're the type to make your own mistakes then? Learn from your own mistakes more so than...
But obviously make sure you don't do what that guy did.
So learn from the mistakes and also make your own mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It's more fun that way.
Interesting.
I think that's more fun.
Okay, so the first part of the first question was more about responsibility. Now, it's a similar sort of question. I'm going to say, how have you become more mature since you were younger? And this is completely in general. Just maturity. How do you think you've gained more maturity through the ages?
I'm not sure.
But you're making a bit dead, bro. Get a bit more.
I think being a madrasa boy, whenever I get around madrasa boys again, I guess that immaturity comes back. But obviously, being a father, being the imam in a masjid, you got to be something that people look up to. So you have to act with a bit of maturity in certain situations, if not all.
Would you say marriage has added to that maturity, or is giving you something?
Definitely. Because what they say in it, it's half your deen. So it kind of like helps you like elevate yourself.
Inshallah.
Not all marriages do that. Just saying.
So from this, I was going to say a lot of young guys, they're immature nowadays. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. First of all, do you agree with that when it comes to marriage?
Definitely, actually, yeah. A lot of them don't learn it. They just think nikah is nikah. Marriage is marriage. Yeah, it's a relationship. That's it. I guess they don't learn the Islamic side of it.
Okay, so what could be done to help them? I guess that's a question I could say.
I guess one answer to that question is nothing.
Okay.
Because there's already classes out there, sessions out there. People run things where they teach people about marriage for free. Some are paid. They teach you more things. They go into depth. The imams in the masajid should already be talking about it, talking about how the fiqh of it and all that stuff, the things people should know. So technically, nothing should be done other than getting the kids to listen to it, and obviously make it more appealing for them. But also, like, as in the things already out there. They just need to be made aware of it by their parents, by the local masajid, by anything. But then also, these kind of sessions, if they're not being held, then the masajid should help, support it, facilitate for it.
And do you think? Okay, so fair enough. So you're saying a lot of stuff is out there. People just aren't going to it. That's fair. But do you think there's anything that's missing? Anything that should be covered in depth, or something that should be touched upon that's not being touched upon in these whatever's out there?
What do you mean? Like, there's a topic that people aren't talking about?
Yeah. Do you think there is something that people aren't talking about?
No, I think most of the sessions that anyone does, like you've been yourself to Mufti Zubair's one, I think it covers everything, from getting married to divorce. The whole thing from the beginning to the end, into even parenthood, I believe he covers.
Alhamdulillah, if you go to the big courses, you're gonna more likely to get the thing. But obviously, then you have to pay for that experience.
But yeah, I think local masajid, the imams are neglecting speaking about talaq and like the fiqh of it. And if it is done in the masjid, sometimes it's not done at the right time or in the right way for them to learn it, which is a bit, you don't want to be doing it at Jummah maybe sometimes, and sometimes you have to do it at Jummah. So yeah, maybe it does need a different approach. But then with that engagement with the youth, then you find out if you need a different approach. Otherwise, you don't know it.
Fair enough. Profound. That is the end of my questions.
Mad.
Yeah. So I thought I could make it longer, but I thought, no, let's keep it short. So.
Legit, you got nothing else?
Yeah, got nothing else. So now you can ask me questions, or
we
could end it here.
Alright, I got one question for you.
Go on.
What gift are you going to give to the viewers?
I don't know how, after watching your podcast, I didn't think of this. One gift I would give, I don't even know if it's been mentioned in your podcast before, to be fair, is sabr, patience. Everything in life gets better with patience. Everything in life gets better with patience. In everything in life. So people have different trials and tribulations in life. The more patience you have, the more you try and build on your patience, and the more patience you have, the easier your trials will get for you, inshallah. Whether it be growing up, trials with family, trials with your job, trials with work, trials with school, trials with marriage, any sort of trials, just try and have patience and build the taqwa. That's the gift I would give.
I had a few other questions, if you're ready for them.
Yeah, of course.
So like, one was that responsibility one, throw it back in your face. You're not the oldest, you're not the youngest, but you're the only boy. And so do you think, like, you just grew up with the instinct of, okay, I'm going to have to be the man of the house?
Well, I got no choice, innit? You're the only guy. When you're the only guy, it's kind of put upon you anyway. You have no choice but to be the guy of the house, the man of the house.
So you think that you just like picked it up along the way?
Yeah, I guess so. Or it's kind of like what they say in Urdu. They say "sar pe parti hai." When it hits you, you have to adapt. Like you're thrown in the deep end. Like that's what I'm saying. It. So you kind of have to you have to pick it up. If you don't pick it up, you're going to struggle.
And one other, like you were saying before, you wanted to get involved with the youth, you know, like put them down the right path.
Just clarifying, yeah, you didn't say the youth there.
And
You
the
said
youth,
the
the youth.
Okay.
You wanted to get involved with them, yeah, and then send them on the right path, yeah. So like scouts and all this and that.
Yeah.
But then the degree you chose in university was?
Criminal justice and criminology.
So like, do you think you wanted to go down that line to help them stay away from that side? As in, was that your career path?
Kind of, a bit of both. So my passion there is like learning crime, why people commit crime, like understand the psychology behind crime, and then inshallah the criminal justice element of it was because of I want to try and stop it as well, physically, practically, have pragmatic steps to stopping it. So that's why I went into law enforcement. I was a police officer for a bit as well, because I thought that's a really good way of doing it and a first-hand way of reaching, a grassroots way of reaching people and youngsters in particular and stopping it. So I thought that's...
So now you're a behavior manager at a boys' school, yeah, secondary school. So like, let's say if somebody wanted advice on how they should, let's say, change their own attitude towards getting things done, what would you say to them?
Normally they don't come to you saying that they have got a problem, that you'll just see the problem. In fact, even today, I'll give you an example. Today, this is just today, there was a lad who got sent out of class. We're very short on pastoral team members. Normally I'd send someone else to do this, but I went myself. I got the lad out of the classroom, found out what the issue was. The teacher had kicked him out of his lesson because he simply didn't want to move from one seat to another seat. I told him to get out of his lesson, had a conversation with him, and he was like, well, what's the problem? I've just been told to move and I didn't do anything wrong. His mindset was, I didn't do anything wrong, so why should I move from this chair to another chair? If I'd done something wrong, maybe I would have moved. And then I said to him, look, you don't need to have a reason to be told to do something. If it's a teacher telling you to do something, you do it. And 9 times out of 10, most people will do it. If someone tells them to do something, you move from this place to this place, you don't need to be told why. And he struggled with that, and it was because of, like you said, it's an attitude problem. He had an attitude problem. He thought he's high and mighty or whatever. He's, it's like teenage hormones as well. It's a combination of things. Anyhow, so the story follows. I took him into so I managed the isolation room. There's no one else in isolation. Obviously, it's the start of term, so it's dead. So I'm just doing admin bits. So I took him into isolation. So obviously that's obviously hit him a bit bigger. He now think, oh, why am I getting in so much trouble? And I said, look, you're not in so much trouble. You're just here because can't be bothered putting you anywhere else. So you're here right now. And I told him to sit somewhere. And he didn't want to sit in that place. He decided to sit somewhere else. And so I had to then say to him, why? I'm not saying you've done anything wrong. I've asked you to sit there. Why can't you sit there? And I said, I had to now say to him, I'm going to make your sanction worse. You're going to get much worse of a sanction. Your parents are going to get told. You're going to make this you're going to make a mountain out of a molehill. Well, all you got to do is simply just move and follow simple instructions. I confiscated his phone as well. I guess it's kind of like a power struggle. Obviously, he's trying to have a power struggle to try and say, no, I deserve these rights. I have this rights. I have that rights. And my point to him is, you don't have these rights, and it's fine if you don't have these rights. You need to understand if there is an authority over you. You need to sometimes accept that there's authority, and just learn to follow this authority. And in life, sometimes it's just simple as that. There's authority, there's rules and regulations in place. You've got to follow this, and when you follow it and you don't argue over it, things are genuinely easier.
So you would say basically listen to rules.
It's in this case, in this case it was
I think we should have like just an episode of you talking about your encounters at school. That would be probably a bit long, but
it would be very long. Yeah,
I think we can keep them for later.
Perhaps if I could think about the things before and not be put on the spot.
No, definitely. Yeah, maybe if everybody likes it, then you could start talking about that. That'd be something that's good. But one of the things I think, like the pivot from scouts to policing, then back to helping them, before they become bad. Which do you think is best? As in, like, more proactive, which is more effective? You being in a scout leader, or you being in the school helping them, or you actually being on the streets as the police?
I think you've answered the question within your thing. I think most proactive is obviously reaching early. So my problem in the police was 9 times out of 10, policing is reactive. I was the response. The response is you normally deal with things after it's happened, and then by that point you realise there's sometimes not much you can do. After that, you have to take the kid. If it's youngsters, you have to take them to social services, or you end up having to impersonate them, giving them criminal records and stuff. A lot of the times I would think, had someone spoken to this person much before I got to it as a police officer, things could have been so much different for this person. So this is where I thought, and there's a few people I helped, they're probably trying to kill themselves, and they were in dark areas, and I thought, I've happened to have a profound effect on this person and change their course. And I thought, where do these guys mess up? And I thought, naturally it's it's from school. In school they're even younger. If you go to them earlier, it's much easier. So after this, when I left this, I went to work as a mentor. So before working as a behaviour manager in this current school, I was a mentor and behaviour manager, a pastoral mentor in a different school. And over there I was dealing with all sorts, like people who were in like gangs, in drugs, knife crime, all sorts of crazy stuff. It's a school in Watford. And police was at the school quite regularly as well.
I think that's a question that I got as well, because we know when Abdul Majid, right, he speaks a lot about drugs and all that, the problem in the Muslim community. Now I thought St Albans isn't as bad as other areas. So like, East London, obviously you look at that, you look at other places in London, Birmingham, other places where it's really bad. But then like yourself, you were in Watford, that area, so there's a big Muslim community there. How bad or how serious do you think it is, even amongst these smaller communities of Muslims? How bad is the drugs and the gangs and all that?
Well, it is bad, man. There's no easy way to put it. It's quite bad.
No, but like how bad? Like, we're saying severely bad? Like,
What's-
obviously
so
it's a
this-
cancer. We all say, yeah, it's a cancer, and if it keeps growing and growing, it's going to take
So
something out. But
So the thing with places like St Albans and Watford in particular, and Watford especially, there's something called county lines, where youngsters travel. They use rail network and other sorts of transport to try and get to places like this, and where we have very good lines towards London. So that's where people can come in and out, and come to areas which are slightly posher and get involved in drugs, and that's where kids can get groomed at early ages. And that's why places like St Albans, where you'd think is more an affluent area, is where it's an easy target as well, because people would be less likely to stop a youngster on the street walking down. That's why they're more likely to get away with having drugs in their
yeah,
rucksack.
I see that. So then, what do you think the parents in St Albans should be doing for their kids? Like, how should they be, looking out for it? What should they be looking out for?
Do you mean Muslim parents or?
I would say, yeah, the Muslim parents, innit? As in, like, for us, like, what should we be looking for? Because if it's bad for our community, then obviously our community are the people that get sucked into it.
Yeah. I think simply having awareness of these sort of issues, so speaking to them, having open conversations with kids if you're parents. B, getting them involved in the masjid and activities like we said in our other thing, like Nurul Qulub, different youth activities, whether it be scouts or different any sort of activities, because the way to change and to stop someone getting groomed into something is to put them into something else. You change the environment, then things will naturally change and fall in place.
Yeah, but then just bringing them to the masjid, is that really enough? Because like we have examples here in this very masjid. Yeah, they come to the masjid, but they don't know pray. They don't know how to stand in the rows. They don't know, these kind of things they don't know. But then the parents would say, "Oh, at least I'm bringing them."
So you're focusing on that side of it, but I see it from a different perspective. I'm seeing how many people are now coming ever since we've started doing things, especially you, if you started doing the table tennis thing, etc. So how many people are now coming that would never even be coming to the masjid? So by doing this, they're now spending more time in the masjid, say from Asr to Maghrib, Maghrib to Isha. They're not now going out.
Yeah, I get that.
All sort of other
But I'm saying,
things.
even there's an example of a person that doesn't come to that, but they do come to pray. But they come pray and then go. And the other day, actually, Asr Salah, first 2 rakats, I think it was, like when I went into ruku on the second rakat, I could still hear them whispering at the back.
Okay.
So yeah, there was a group.
Okay, so someone who's been forced to come to the masjid, you say?
Yeah, so there's not one person, there's about 3-4
Okay.
people, a group. And then after Salah, when I finished, they were praying not included in the saf, away from the saf, making their own row. And even then, there's like two of them standing together, one of them standing in different place, one of them standing behind them. And so as in the reply you get from the parents is, oh, at least he's coming to the masjid.
Mm.
So like that, is it just good enough bringing them to the masjid though? Like, that's what I would want to.
No, but
Talk about.
I'd agree with the parents in the sense that they're right in the sense that at least they are coming to the masjid. Like, you're not going to now put them off from coming to the masjid because then they might be doing it.
I get that, but there's a fine line in it where there's, okay, he's coming to the masjid, but he's disturbing
Yeah, yeah.
the jamaat. Well, not him, but a group of
Yeah.
people are disturbing the jamaat.
Yeah, yeah. That you're right. There is that fine line. If they start disturbing the jamaat, then obviously then it becomes a problem. But if they're not praying, doing their own thing, not disturbing the jamaat, then it's fine. But obviously, if you're saying it's now crossing that threshold and starting to disturb the jamaat, you just have to have a nice word with them later and gently remind them.
How nice. I don't think I was that nice.
Oh, you've already done it. You've
Yeah,
had a word with
I
them.
had a word with them straight after. Because, like, it's happened before. But yeah, this was like a time where I could literally hear them when I'm like in ruku, sajda. Then obviously I get back up and I'm thinking, oh, these are doing it for the whole salah. But
And-
yeah, they stopped.
And since you've spoken to them, are they still coming to the masjid?
I think, yeah, they actually have to come back.
Okay, then
Yeah.
you've not said something crazy. Then that's fine.
No, I thought I was well in line to say what I said. But yeah, I don't think it was entirely that nice. I could have been nicer,
Mm.
I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Sometimes the thing is you have to read the person. For some people, you have to be cruel to be kind. They don't understand until you have the hit, the proper hit, metaphorically speaking. But others, love is the better way for them. Usually, people who are youngsters and lost, they're used to just the macho mindset of you've got to be the biggest thing. If they're what they actually need, they're actually soft inside. They're the ones who need love. You have to speak to them softly, and that will actually bring them on. So I don't know, yeah. So different people's different ways of speaking to them.
That's crazy. Because obviously, like, as the imam, you kind of learn it. For myself, like, when we learned Hadhr Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was like, the best person about body language, and he knew what somebody was by the way that they walked. Oh yeah, in your past life you used to do this and that. So like, you could tell that by the way somebody would walk or talk or something. So obviously, like, as imams, you kind of try to learn it. But to an extent, okay, that person is dressed like this, so that means he's got an office job, or that person is dressed like that, so that means he's probably doing this housework, that work, whatever. So you know how to talk to somebody then, innit? You talk to the person on the status that they are, kind of thing, get to their level. But then obviously when it's the youngsters, like obviously the way that we were told when we were kids was just like, yeah, do it, and that's it.
Yeah.
I guess, like, obviously now we're in the positions where we say something. So now it's like, yeah, don't you think you should actually be doing something better instead of, because obviously now you can't hit anyone.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's unfortunate. You can't. So, and like you said, I'm kind of in between the generations, but back in the day it was do it and you do it because you had the fear, you had the respect for your elders. Now, so that's not so much a thing. It's a problem, societal problem, not necessarily in Islam, where people don't just do things just because they're told it. And because they don't, that's why they need the explanation.
I think I was speaking to somebody
rationale.
about that. It's about the whole now the whole thing that everyone's pushing, do what you want kind of thing, and do what thou will.
Yeah.
That whole agenda and the whole thing of like mindset, do whatever you want is fine.
Yeah.
No one's going to say anything. Nobody can do anything to you.
Yeah. It's youngsters tend to be more entitled now. That's the word. They're entitled. They think they've got more rights. They think, if you touch me, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call Childline. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. The thing is, sometimes you just have to call them out on it, because if you're just disciplining them, they can call whatever they want. None of these services can do anything to help them.
Unless you hit them, right?
Yeah, no. So there was an example once I was in the police. A child called the police on their parents for disciplining them. I happened to be the officer going there attending, and I said, "Yeah, you did the right thing for disciplining them. That's what they need." And I obviously, as a police officer, you've got to cover your back. And there's an old bylaw in England about lawful chastisement. So parents are allowed to hit their kids so long as they don't leave a mark. And I reminded them of that.
That's in British law.
That's a British law, yeah.
Mad. It's
Yeah,
still
so
in there.
It is still in there, yeah. So you're allowed to as long as you don't leave a mark. A lot of these things I think come from Islam anyway. It's because you need to. There's no such thing as you can't do anything. You can't do anything. Yeah. So anyway, I sent that kid. It's like you can't be. You kind of deserved what you got. And I said to the parents, if you need to do it again, do it. do it. Because obviously you have to read the situation. I wouldn't say that's everyone, because there are genuine, disclaimer, there's genuine cases of child abuse and people getting thing, but you can tell when you see an entitled child and a parent who's struggling with the child, and that was one of those cases.
I think that is the gift for everybody. Like, if you ever have kids, by English law, by the British law, mate, you can chastise them,
Yeah.
beat them up as much as you can without leaving a mark. For a right reason, though. Inshallah. Jazakallah for your questions, and Jazakallah for your answers, man. It was a good insight. I think there's more I could pick your brain about, and inshallah you'll probably do that at a later episode.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair for your time and for inviting me.
وياك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.